from having significantly larger proportions of retired people and older people relative to working age citizens. Another example is the array of technologies, often referred to collectively as geoengineering, that potentially could help reverse the warming effects of global climate change. One that has gained my personal attention is stratospheric aerosol injection, or SAI, a method of seeding the stratosphere with particles that can help reflect the sun's heat in much the same way that volcanic eruptions do. An SAI program could limit global temperature increases, reducing some risks associated with higher temperatures and providing the world economy additional time to transition from fossil fuels. This process is also relatively inexpensive. The National Research Council estimates that a fully deployed SAI program would cost about $10 billion yearly. As promising as it may be, moving forward on SAI would also raise a number of challenges for our government and for the international community. On the technical side, greenhouse gas emission reductions would still have to accompany SAI to address other climate change effects, such as ocean acidification, because SAI alone would not remove greenhouse gases from the atmosphere. On the geopolitical side, the technology's potential to alter weather patterns and benefit certain regions of the world at the expense of other regions could trigger sharp opposition by some nations. Others might seize on SAI's benefits and back away from their commitment to carbon dioxide reductions. And as with other breakthrough technologies, global norms and standards are lacking to guide the deployment and implementation of SAI and other geoengineering initiatives. Now, I could go on and on and on and on about the things that fascinate me, but rather than talk about them, I thought I'd stop here and start the conversation with Judy, and then I can take...
So we have this guy here, John Brennan, and he's talking about stratospheric aerosol injection, doing it at $10 billion a year, ocean acidification, greenhouse gases. So, you know, here's our government telling us what they're doing. Why is there all the confusion? You can find articles from Harvard stating how they're going to spray the stratosphere with different particulates to reflect the sun's light. And then you can find other articles from Harvard that say that it's fake, that these things aren't happening. And what you'll find if you Google the chemtrail conspiracy theory, it'll say that it is based on the erroneous belief that long-lasting condensation trails are chemtrails, consisting of chemical or biological agents left in the sky by aircraft, sprayed for nefarious purposes undisclosed to the general public, period. They continue to say that while normal contrails dissipate relatively quickly, contrails that linger must contain additional substances. Those who subscribe to the theory speculate that the purpose of the chemical release may be solar radiation management, weather modification, psychological manipulation, human population control, or biological or chemical warfare, and that the trails are causing respiratory illnesses and other problems. Okay, so let's go through these one at a time. Solar radiation management, it's not a speculation and it's not a theory, it's a real thing. Harvard has an entire department dedicated to it. They call it solar engineering. Okay, so the first one down. Number 2, weather modification. Weather modification, are you kidding me? It is not speculation. The United States government ran Operation Popeye from 1967 to 1972 during the Vietnam War in an attempt to rain out the enemy. The program was sponsored by Secretary of State Henry Kissinger and the CIA without approval from the Department of Defense. As far as biological and chemical warfare, it had already been done again by our government, Operation LAC, or Large Area Coverage, an operation which dispersed microscopic zinc cadmium sulfide particles over much of the United States. An operation that started in September of 1950 in the San Francisco Bay Area and didn't finish until the mid-60s in St. Louis. I found no documented cases of aerosol injection used for psychological manipulation or human population control, but if they were doing it, why would they tell you? So back to my original question is, why all the confusion? Simply put, it's because you believe what you're told. Never doing your homework to find out if what they said was true or not. If you did look, like we just did here, you would see that they've been doing it for well over 60 years and have covered their tracks most of the time. people were unaware of what they were seeing, they called them chemtrails. With mountains of data to sort through proving that chemical spraying does indeed exist, they had to do something to save face. How do they do that? They just switch it around, change the name, and repackage it as geoengineering or climate engineering or weather modification. So for years, kooky conspiracy theorists have claimed that aluminum, barium, strontium, sulfur, and other chemicals were being pumped into our atmosphere. Is there any proof to this? You betcha. Nonprofit website zeroengineering.com took over 80 rain samples across the United States between 2016 and 2018. Guess what they found? Aluminum, barium, strontium, and sulfur. I wonder how that got there. Must be a coincidence. The purpose of this video wasn't to prove that the government is killing us, but chemicals are being sprayed on us. There's no question about that, and it's being made out to be a conspiracy theory. And I'll just end with saying this: don't take anything for face value. Do your homework. Don't believe what I said, or what anybody says for that matter. Put your work in, educate yourself, the information's out there. And it's time for you to get to work. Until next time.